I think every week it's important as coaches to look at the game where you were at, and the number one goal is to win the game. And we have to make sure we stay focused on that part of it. But then it's also important for us to take a step back at the beginning of the week and ask ourselves, where are we going? And I think all those things come into play. And so, you're making a decision once you get going during the week. Everything is about that opponent. But early in the week, you're going to ask yourself, where are we going? What is the identity? What do we need to get done in all three phases? And so all those things come into consideration when we're making decisions on everything. So there's the short-term decisions that are made, and there's the long-term decisions that are made. And so we take all those conversations very seriously, and we go from there. And give our facilities people a lot of credit. We had monster speakers out there and made it really loud and hard to communicate. It was a little frustrating at times with the scout team, but it was worth it because in the preparation we were able to handle the chaos of it. So I thought that was good. But again, always, as a coach, you're always thinking about the things we got to get better at. But I will say that I thought our guys handled the environment well. I do think that there was a reference point for some of these guys coming in. Maybe some of them didn't play last year, but Julian, for example, traveled to Oregon. He traveled to Penn State. He was at all the playoff games, so he knew what that was like. Carson and Luke, both who were involved with all the silent count, had played with the silent count in the past, and that's a big piece of it. When your quarterback has poise, and then your center and guard who's turning back and part of the operation has poise and composure, it kind of calms everybody down back there. That being said, we had the one false start, but that actually, Julian started a cadence, so we got a little screwed up there. But it's the other penalties in the red zone that got us off track, and those are things that can't happen, especially when we're in a game where we only have 6 possessions. We've got to be efficient, and that's an area we're going to focus on this week.
With Justin and CJ, where you'd say your favorite throws were the ones they threw away,
right?
Decision making. Julian seemed to do that maybe more on Saturday than he had in the first few games. What was your evaluation of the decision-making process and signs of growth there, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, I thought there was definitely some of those, and there was one in particular on the naked that we got to find a way to throw that one away. We can't take negative plays in the red zone. That's for everybody. But I think you saw one. We tried to move to Jeremiah, came back, it wasn't there. We decided to go max protection with no check down. He had to throw that ball away. I mean, that's a really good decision. We can live with 2nd and 10. We can't be 2nd and 17. I like the way he extended plays. Even on extension where you're running and you're getting 3 yards, 2nd and 7 is better than 2nd and 10 or a sack. And I thought a big play for him was the 3rd and 17. We got 2-man. He escapes the pocket. Typically nobody has the quarterback unless it's a 3-man rush against 2-man. He's added to the field goal. I think he scrambled for like 12 yards. And then shorten that field goal, which adds the percentage of make there. So that's all like really great teaching moments for somebody who has only had 4 starts. And in a game like that, these games are more like the NFL now. And when we're in a game like that where both teams are huddling and the possessions are at a premium, these decisions are critical. So great learning experiences for him, understanding how that works, and for our team in general.
Second row center, Bill Landis.
Ryan, you guys do a lot of formation.
Talked about the penalties in the red zone. I feel like after every game you've been here, we've talked about the red zone. So how do you focus on getting that cleaned up without then the guys having a complex when they cross that 20-yard line?
Well, it was the negative plays in this game. It was the sack, and then it was 2 penalties. So I thought there was some good. We were resilient down there. We got the big run that got us to 4th down. We went for it. We didn't execute on the 1 4th down and 1, which is disappointing. But we also found ourselves again, on 2 third longs, and we kept playing. Hit the tunnel screen to Jeremiah, which was big. So I mean, there was positives there, but we want to be perfect. We want to score touchdowns every time we get down there. The goal is 75% of our red zone trips should be touchdowns. We can't take negative plays. And so we'll take a look at that and continue to work through it. I thought some of the things that we had down there were good, but when you're down in the red area, it's not easy. You can see some of the teams we're playing against. In our defense, the challenges they're presenting. And when you only have 6 possessions, you've got to be really good. And understanding that is critical. So we do, and we're going to keep swimming away at it.
Left side, Whitney Harding.
Ryan, you talked about the penalties in the red zone. I feel like after every game you've been here, we've talked about the red zone. So how do you focus on getting that cleaned up without then the guys having a complex when they cross that 20-yard line?
Well, it was the negative plays in this game. It was the sack, and then it was 2 penalties. So I thought there was some good. We were resilient down there. We got the big run that got us to 4th down. We went for it. We didn't execute on the 1 4th down and 1, which is disappointing. But we also found ourselves again, on 2 third longs. We kept playing, hit the tunnel screen to Jeremiah, which was big. So there was positives there, but we want to be perfect. We want to score touchdowns every time we get down there. The goal is 75% of our red zone trip should be touchdowns. We can't take negative plays, and so we'll take a look at that and continue to work through it. I thought some of the things that we had down there were good, but when you're down in the red area, it's not easy. You can see some of the teams we're playing against, in our defense, the challenges they're presenting, and when you only have 6 possessions, you've got to be really good, and understanding that is critical. So we do, and we're going to keep swimming away at it. As the season goes on, you'll start to see that, sort of like we did with Trey and Quinshawn, become more and more of a weapon, because that's something that has to happen as a running back here in this offense. All of our running backs can play receiver. That's sort of a prerequisite now, because of what we were just talking about with Bill. Is like you have to be able to play multiple things. If you're just a running back and you can't run a route out of the backfield or line up at receiver if we need you to, or you can't protect, you're not bringing a lot to the table. And all these guys can do that.
But even before some of those rule changes, you guys have started gradually playing a little bit slower year by year, and it seems to match up with as your defense has gotten better. Like 4 years ago, you were in a situation where you got offensive weapons, but you kind of had to use them every single play. 2 years ago, you're talking about how you're having to get used to winning with your defense, and now here you are winning again 24-6, and you're pretty happy with that. Has that allowed you to not feel so pressurized for your offense to be on every single play and not feel like your quarterback has to have it every single play, and he maybe grow throughout the season versus maybe where CJ had to be, where Kyle had to be, because of where your defense has gotten over the past 4 years? You figuring out the coaching staff, you getting the right players in the building and whatnot.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but no, I feel stressed about being on every single play. I don't know. I know the defense is playing good, but that's not the way it is on a headset or how it is on Sundays after watching the film. We expect to execute at a high level, and when we don't, it doesn't go very well. So, there are certain strategies that we're using for different reasons. I won't get into all of them on how we're attacking some of these games. With, again, kind of what we were talking about before, the short-term goal of winning, and then you have to look at it from a wide lens of where do we need to be at the end of the season. And we can't. It's such a balance. We do have to be right now. We have to take it game after game, day after day, put in one game in front of the other, all those things. But at some point, you got to look out and say, okay, this is a long run, a bunch of sprints, not a marathon. That's sort of how we look at it. But when you look at it from a wide lens, we have to have a plan on what we're doing. And there's a lot of different things that go into that. But one thing that isn't compromised is the execution. That has to be at a high level. So, we're chasing that, and we need to. I think we had 16 plays on Saturday of over 10 yards. I think that's what it was. And I think it was more like 25 plays of over 8 yards or something like that. It was close. When you have 60 plays, that's a pretty good day at the office. But situational things come in, and when you only have 6 possessions, it can go fast. So all those things are taken into consideration, and we're expecting, though, to score touchdowns every time we touch the ball.
Do you know what your offense is? This is automatic. This is what we know we're good at, and so now you're kind of poking holes to see what's still, to the point of your bigger picture. The focus maybe is on what do we need to get better at week in, week out, versus we know we can do this and we can pull this out of our hat whenever we feel we need to.
I think you have an identity and you have a core of what you think you are, and then you go into other areas to figure out how you can diversify. And I think that's the balance we try to find every week.
And And last question, Tim. That's not so far.
Well, like you said, when you only have six possessions and 60 some odd plays, those reps are valuable, and so there's not as many in that type of a game to go around. I think there's going to be plenty more to go around for these guys, and we need all of them. I think they're all growing in different areas. I think it starts with CJ, who is still figuring out this this offense and how we do things here and the expectation, and he's growing. He's done some really good things, made some big plays already for us, and so he's got to continue to get better. I think every time Bo and James get on the field, they're sort of doing it for the first time a lot of times, and so you're seeing the growth from those guys. And they need to play. The more they play, the more you're going to find out about them, and they're going to grow. And the only time as a running back, you got to play, and the quicker they learn, the better their career is going to go.